Okay, so you're curious to see what you would look like if you were just magically turned into a dog? Physiognomically speaking? Oh, okay. It's a strong curiosity that a lot of people like myself have. So, my formula, my personal formula that I've kind of developed inside of my head, along with the rest of my formulas, is to basically use your hair color as what your fur color would be. Some people would use skin color, but I don't think that's a reliable metric. I think that using hair color would be a far more reliable metric because a dog's fur is still their hair. They still have a skin color underneath the hair, but that's their hair. Then we're gonna look at your face, your facial physiognomy. We're gonna see the distance between your eyes, your nose, your lips, and just your general facial shape. And as well as that, we're also going to factor in your temperament. So typically, when it comes to different breeds, they are genetically wired with different temperaments in the dog world. So this is something we're going to consider, considering how if dogs are all bred with different temperaments due to their genetics, then likewise, we're going to see what personality you have fits best in with which dog breed. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like a personality test, yeah. So, and also your size. So, for example, if you're on the shorter side, then you're going to probably be a smaller breed. And if you're typically on the taller side, then you're going to be a larger breed. Okay? Okay, cool. We're also going to take into account aristocratic breeds as well. There's one doggy breed that I can't quite remember, but it's I think a Chinese breed where they're seen as a very aristocratic dog, but they also age incredibly poorly, and they're oftentimes ranked some of the ugliest dogs once they reach elderly age because they lose their teeth, they go blind, they start having skin problems. They're sad cases. They're very sad doggies. Anyways, I'm gonna just measure your face if you're ready. Okay. I'm going to be using a couple of tools, and I'm also going to be using a flashlight. I'm also going to be using your eye color to determine like what you would look like too as well. So there might be some slight inaccuracies. Naturally, this is just for fun, but it's also kind of like an interesting thought experiment as well. So let's begin. First things first, can you tell me your height? Okay, cool. That's kind of what you look like. Now I'm just going to take measurements of your eyes. I'm just going to measure out the distance between your eyes. Okay, I'm just going to click this just to kind of mark in my head where exactly your eyes start and finish. There is a bit of a distance between your eyes. Not too much though. Typically people with like eyes that are a bit further than their nostrils, kind of like Anna Taylor-Joy or that one girl from The Little Mermaid, or that one girl from Snow White. They have eyes that almost look like they're running away from each other. This yields to certain breeds that also kind of have that sort of eyes wide apart sort of look. Now I'm going to be measuring the width of your nose, particularly your nostrils, but the bridge of your nose is a huge factor as well. So I'm just going to go in. And I'm just going to take a quick little measurement of where it begins, ends. Okay. The bridge of your nose is a little bit on the kind of like average side. I'm going to measure your nostrils from there and there. And your nostrils are quite normal as well. Typically people with wide set nostrils will be basically put into certain breed categories as well. Now, I'm going to be looking at the width of your lips. So I'm just going to be, I see that you have hazel eyes too. That'll be taken into consideration too. Typically doggies have blue eyes or brown eyes. I don't think they ever have green or hazel eyes. I think it's really only blue or brown. Particularly certain breeds like huskies, you'll see a lot of blue eyes. But if you have hazel eyes, I'm just going to put you into the blue eye category for now. So I'm just going to measure the distance between the corners of your lips. Okay, very interesting. And then the height of your lips. Okay, very interesting. Okay, look forward for me, please. I just want to see how your pupils dilate. This is going to be just a small little metric of your temperament. Okay, interesting. Okay, good. Just to see how your pupils dilate, basically. Typically predatory people whose eyes, and take this with a huge grain of salt, but typically people who are predatory will have that sort of like shark eyes, where it's almost like instinctually it's like their eyes will go black. Their unpredictability will then yield them to random acts of violence, and this can basically give way to certain breeds of dogs as well. So I'm just going to take a little look at your hair texture as well. Sometimes the hair texture doesn't quite match up with the breed of dog either. It just depends, basically, but I like to account for hair texture as well. And I'm also going to shine a light on your hair. It's going to be a big light. I'm just going to look at the hair color and see what notes I can find, what undertones I can find. Sometimes people who have dark hair have a lot of undertones of blonde or red, which give it some definition. But other times it is like pure black, where it's just almost blue. And then some people who are blondish are actually kind of more on the brunette side, and some people who are more on the brunette side might actually have way more blonde in their hair. So I just kind of want to find the proper hair color for you. Okay, I'm just going to be looking at your roots now. I'm just going to be looking through there. Okay, interesting. So according to the measurements that I found from your body type, your height, your facial physiognomy, I think what I'm going to conclude is you have like corgi physiognomy. Yeah, like a Welsh corgi. They tend to, I think a lot of the Welsh breeds tend to have very aristocratic habits, but their temperament can be a little bit stubborn. So that's something that might apply. I don't know. That's kind of what I registered from your pupils, but you tell me. Okay. Yeah, they're very set in their ways. They're very much the queen's dog, basically, where she's kind of like the royal palace, sort of like attend to my boundaries and needs, basically. Your hair color. Corgis can range from different fur shades. Some of them can be very bright blonde, or very kind of like auburnish brunette. Your hair color gives me more of like a lighter shade of auburnish brunette, but I place you kind of there. And then because of your height, if for example, by male metrics, you're above 6 feet, then that would place you in the large breed category, like Huskies, Great Danes, what's that one that Beethoven was? Saint Bernards. If you're like 5, I guess maybe 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", maybe, to 5'11", then that puts you more so in like the medium to big kind of category. Well, actually I would say 5'10" to 5'11" is medium category, or medium to tall category. So those are the type of dogs where it almost seems like medium-sized dogs until they sit on your lap, and then you realize, oh, they're actually really huge. And then the medium-sized dogs would be like 5'7", 5'8", and then the smaller dogs would be like 5'6" and under. So those are the ones where it's more like a pug. In the female category, if you're between, let's say, if you're above 5'11", like that's like a Great Dane. If you're 5'8" to 5'11", then that puts you in the larger category. If you're like 5'4" to 5'8", that puts you in the medium-sized category. And then if you're like 5 feet or under to 5'3", then that puts you in the small category. In your case, you're small to medium. So you're about like 5'3", 5'4", so that's kind of why I chose a corgi as well. Your eyes are a little bit separated, as previously mentioned, but not too far. So because they're a little bit separated, I put you in the corgi category because their eyes are a little bit separated. Your nose has like a normal bridge to it. It's not necessarily thin or wide. It's just kind of like average. So that kind of reminded me of a corgi as well. But the tip of your nose is thin. So that also reminds me of a corgi, where they have a very defined nose. It's not like a pit bull where it's just kind of like wide, basically. And then as for your lips, they're also quite refined. So it's not like, I usually translate that to the wideness of a dog's mouth. So in your case, the corgi itself has a very defined opening. It's not like it overtakes or overpowers the face. So it's proportioned. The proportions of a dog's face is kind of how I'm mapping it onto human physiognomy. So that's also why I kind of chose a corgi as well for you. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's kind of what I like to do. Like in my case, I kind of compare myself to a Cocker Spaniel, I think, just because of my hair texture and the structure of my face, where it's kind of like more on the inverted side. So likewise, I think a lot of women with inverted faces will have facial types that are more like the English Cavalier dog or the Cocker Spaniel, or what's another dog? I guess a Chihuahua too, but Chihuahuas are really reserved for the girls who are like 5 feet tall, and like their temperament is very unpredictable and very defensive, but also when they're put to the test, it's like they can't really back it up. But yeah, typically girls with doe eyes as well, I kind of put into the Cocker Spaniel or such breeds as that kind of category, just because Cocker Spaniels look so sad but so cute, so I kind of really like them. They're adorable. Favorite breed. As for other types, as for unpredictability, I would say that typically I would place people who are genetically predisposed to having a temperament where it's just very violently unpredictable, and then once they're like removed from the violent, unpredictable situation, they tend to kind of have that like puppy sort of like, oh, I didn't do anything wrong category into the pit bull category. That's the one with like the larger mouths or like the wider, like whatever. So it's interesting how human experiences kind of map on. Same thing with the type of like snowboarders who would like to go skiing or going wherever. They tend to have husky personalities where they're very like randomly loud, but they're also just kind of like endearing and funny in that way. And they're also very athletic, and they tend to enjoy a lot of outdoor sports, and they need that outdoor stimulation, kind of like a border collie, like a farm animal. Those are the type of dogs that I would actually associate more so with the average sort of like country folk border collies, because they tend to need to be outdoors on the farmland getting things done. Otherwise, it's like they grow anxious on the inside. So those are sort of the elements that I kind of account for when making that transference. But yeah, anyways, I hope you liked this assessment, and I hope that you, I guess, do with it as you will. You found your dog spirit animal, I guess. And yeah, so I hope you take care.